God, how much more stupid can this get?
Don't jinx anything.
It's the Asylum, dude. Come on. The real question is, can this get any more stupid than Shark Side of the Moon? How about that? Then again, that's an impossible.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a tall order.
If not impossible at this point.
A taller order than that sexy shark lady.
Some people, man, they need to go to a therapist or keep their fetishes to themselves.
Hey, all I'm saying, Harkness test. Look it up. Don't look it up. Just kidding, you can look it up. Hello and welcome to the fifth
I think it's like the
fifth episode of Tubi Trash, the show where we talk about terrible movies we find on Tubi. My name is John Carl Barth. I am the founder of Neurokina Productions.
And I'm Darren Logue, and I talk about PlayStation games on my own YouTube channel.
And I'm Shane McCarthy. I go by the stage name Snarky McCarthy on my respective channels and social media profiles. I currently have been on an extended hiatus, but hopefully I'll get some sort of momentum going again at some point.
So, we watched DC Down.
Send help now!
The fact that this movie exists is kind of astonishing to me for a couple reasons. So, first of all, it's a mockbuster, but it's a mockbuster of not just one movie, but two, because occasionally there are times, for some reason, this is like a really oddly specific pattern, where Hollywood will just make two movies with the exact same premise that come out at the exact same time. Back in 2013, there were two movies about the White House being attacked, those being White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen. And the fact that this is a mockbuster of both of those, of two movies at once, is already a little unique, shall we say. But there's also the fact that this came out a decade later. Those are from 2013, this is from 2023. So why they decided to make this is hell if I know, dude. Maybe the script was written back then and they just didn't get around to making it
until now.
Yeah.
Or for all I know, the assessment is inaccurate, and the only reason we think that is because it has DC Down in the title, and it's just very similar to White House Down.
Okay, but like that would be one hell of a coincidence.
Sure.
Like it has both a very similar name to one of those movies and a very similar premise, and
well,
the main difference. So I haven't seen Olympus Has Fallen, but I have seen White House Down. I know that one is about terrorists attacking the White House. This one differentiates itself by it's actually a natural disaster movie, although it does kind of involve terrorists eventually, but
a terrorist militia.
Yeah. But like the main conflict throughout most of it is that there's is that an earthquake is destroying DC. So, I don't know, that's something to differentiate it, I guess. But even then, a lot of the time, mockbusters have only like superficial similarities to their respective blockbusters in order to trick people into buying them.
Yeah, because they're being rushed out onto store shelves as the movie they're ripping off is still being made.
Yeah,
except in this case where they wait a decade for some reason.
Yeah, somehow a earthquake takes place in DC that causes damage to the White House, and somehow the only people that get trapped under this rubble are the president and vice president, and there's like a team trying to go in there and save them. But also there's tons of diverging subplots involving strategies of getting them out, a terrorist militia somehow getting involved in the proceedings, and the acting president, of course, like trying to seek like his own path to political glory.
Who's played by Eric Roberts, because of course Eric Roberts is in this. I'm surprised on this show it even took us 5 episodes to get to an Eric Roberts movie.
Should I know more about Eric Roberts?
He's in a whole lot of low-budget movies like this. That's all you really need to know.
All right.
I mean, there's maybe a few roles he's done that are quite respected or dignified. But the only one I can think of course, is when he voiced Dan Phantom, or Dark Danny, in the Ultimate Enemy two-parter of Danny Phantom.
Well, and also, like, especially recently, he's mostly been in schlock. Like, it's my impression that he used to be a bigger name, but now he's kind of just known as the low-budget movie king.
He basically gives people like Travolta and Bruce Willis,
Up until recently.
pre-aphasia, a run for their money.
Where do we begin? Because this is like, it's like you said, this does have a surprising amount of diverging subplots. Like, it doesn't feel right to call this movie complex, but it almost kind of is in a weird way. Like, I guess if we just start from the very beginning, this movie wastes no time. It moves at a very brisk pace. It's only 80 minutes long.
It begins with the earthquake.
Yeah.
Like
so the very first thing we see is the president, played by bargain brand Margot Martindale, and her vice president walking through a apparently newly constructed wing of the White House, and we know that because it has like wet paint and like ladders and stuff everywhere. Like, it looks like it's still being built, and low-key that's probably just because it's like somebody's house, and the only reason they included a new wing at all is so they wouldn't have to get a set that actually looks like the White House. But anyway.
Yeah, Tyler Perry's White House is too expensive, and also expository dialogue kind of lays out that this is a new wing.
Yeah. So that happens for like 10 seconds, and then immediately the earthquake starts. Which, we were talking about, like, is there a fault line in DC? Is that a thing? I don't know. I'll probably just look it up and throw it on screen later to see if it is in fact a thing, but as far as we can tell, it isn't, as far as we know. Oh, are you looking it up now?
I need some kind of answer to anything. Well, the closest thing I could find is when it comes to first results, is a 2011 earthquake within Virginia. Though I don't know if it was exact, though, not sure how much. I guess it's the closest we ever got to that, so they're still kind of stretching.
Yeah.
You're saying California or Japan.
So basically this kind of has all the problems you'd expect it to. It's all very cheap looking. A lot of the destruction is just cheap CGI, and other than that and the occasional stock footage, all the actual real stuff that's been shot looks incredibly cheap, incredibly sparse. It's all either shot on just some random ass outdoor field, which at one point we see a palm tree, because they totally have those in DC, or it's in like a very cheap looking set. Like, there's I don't know what it's supposed to be, like an underground bunker or something, or a place where there are scientists studying these earthquakes.
I don't remember.
Lillian, are you seeing this?
But either way, it's just like a room with a bunch of computer monitors and stuff, and that's it.
Yeah, just a couple of tech people that reappear in various scenes.
Really it's also very claustrophobic.
It looked like an even smaller, even cheaper version of the Mission Control set from Shark Side of the Moon.
The only thing in their favor was that they didn't use ring lights.
Is that a ring light? Like just a YouTuber ring light?
Wait, you want to back that up to see?
Well, they might show it again.
We should get some fresh food if we're here for a while.
Fresh food? What are you talking about? Like,
Exactly, that's what she just said.
did you set up? Did you already have like gardens?
You can't just drive over to Kroger when you're on the moon.
Did you have fresh food? Did you fruit set up? Like you have like a vegetation?
Look, the ring light. Aw.
Wait, back up.
There. There was one part that I laughed my ass off at, though, where we're looking at supposedly one of these scientists is looking at their computer monitor, tracking the seismic patterns or whatever, And we can very clearly just see that it's just like a rendered 3D video, because at the top we see just like a Mac taskbar
or
at
something
the
like
top, and it says QuickTime Player.
That's
And
right.
then-
That's right.
And then immediately below that it says seismicpatterns.mov. So it's very obviously they're just like playing a video.
Seriously, picture-in-picture is not that hard to do. Cropping is not that hard as well. What the... That is impressive levels of incompetent.
Like, they literally just didn't bother to hit full screen.
And I mean, there's also like little if any blood to be found, even though people get shot, and supposedly they get hit in some severe areas or suffer severe injuries.
Yeah, this is like, there's a part near the end. I know I'm skipping a lot here, but there's a part near the end where like a guy gets shot in the leg and supposedly it like hit an artery or something, which of course we only know through dialogue. Because, like, we don't see any gushing blood like there should be, and he barely even acts injured. Like, he literally just sort of holds his leg, and it doesn't seem to have any actual, like, effect on him. Like, he's able to walk and everything, just with a slight limp.
He's also able to later on fight,
Yeah, he has a knife fight.
and it's worse than the one in The Devil Comes to Kansas City somehow.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to describe this knife fight for you, like, in its entirety, blow for blow. So, at this point, the terrorist militia has had him handcuffed with plastic twist tie things or whatever, and somehow he manages to break free. They literally forget to show us how he literally just
Some of those like tension snaps or something
Yeah.
like that.
and the militia guy who was holding him hostage takes out his knife and tries to fight him. And the way it is, it's like, at first, for the first several minutes of the fight, we never see them on screen together. It's just we see the guy with the knife do this a couple times, and then we cut to a separate shot of the other guy dodging, and we just cut back and forth between those two things a whole shit ton of times. And then eventually after that, we cut to a few extremely shaky, extremely brief shots of them in frame together, and somehow the guy with the knife gets knocked out, and it's not made clear how, because of how choppily edited everything is. Like you said, it literally makes the Devil Comes to Kansas City knife fight look good by comparison.
And again, and just like before, that guy has a gun. Why is he not just pulling out the gun and shooting? I get why it's a bit of a bitch to try and coordinate that, but as if a knife fight's any easier.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and at least in this instance, like, unlike in Devil Comes to Kansas City, they didn't deliberately do the whole, like, okay, let's set our guns aside and do this mano-a-mano thing. Like, in that scene, he just seemed to, like, not have his gun for seemingly no reason, even though he had it in previous shots.
It's like more of like an instinctive move on his end.
But, yeah, at least they didn't do that cliche. That's something, at least, if I had to compliment this. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. That's like near the end. So, man, I'm struggling to remember like the actual plot of this.
Me too. I'm alright for forgetting.
It's, I mean, like there's just a lot of crap that happens. I mean, what I can recall best top of my head. Of course, after this out of nowhere earthquake hits DC, causes tons of rubble that somehow only traps the president and vice president. And with it, there's
everybody apparently got out safely except for those two people.
And there was even it's not like they were the only people inside. There were some others. Somehow they got lucky and ran the hell out of there.
You'd think that the president and vice president would be the ones to get evacuated first.
There were those other two like random firefighters or whatever they were who got trapped in the rubble and then like disappeared from the movie a quarter of the way through.
Yeah.
The ones who couldn't stop smiling the whole time for some reason. Not unlike the guy from Shark Side of the Moon. But the weird thing is that it was both of them.
Yeah, they were especially struggling. Like, they were constantly smirking, like, as if the proceedings were just kind of like Tuesday.
Yeah, and the only reason why the president and vice president are the ones trapped inside are clearly to just raise the stakes and make it important on why these people need to be saved.
So,
Even it's like the worst. Also, if it's really collapsing that hard, it must be like the worst infrastructure ever, worse than any underdeveloped country in the world.
And we only knew that they were the president and vice president because they mentioned it in the dialogue a few times.
We didn't even know at first. It took a while.
yeah. So, there's also an important thing that happens. Eric Roberts' character, I don't remember what his title is first. I guess he must be like Secretary of State.
I think he's House Speaker or something like that, because if I'm correct when it comes to the Ascension situation, President, Vice President, House Speaker, like Majority House Speaker.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Secretary of State, but whatever.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But anyway, he gets temporarily sworn in while the president is trapped under all the rubble and everything. And he calls the Secretary of Defense, who's also like a major character in this, and says, hey, we're bringing in the Virginia local militia.
Virginia Lookout.
Yeah, the Virginia Lookout, they call it. And he's like, that sounds like a bad idea. And then Eric Robert goes, oh, we'll be fine. And it turns out this is actually all part of a plan. Which, come to think of it, that's like, of all the nonsense in this movie, that's like... Did he somehow... If we're supposed to believe... Because the big twist at the end is that this was Eric Roberts' plan all along to try and assassinate the president and become president himself. Did he somehow know that this earthquake was going to happen? Or did the earthquake just happen and he just thought really fast and immediately seized the opportunity? Like, all right, let's go, you know?
I think that it was supposed to be the latter, but
how do you...
This plan seems too thought out.
Yeah, how do you orchestrate that? How do you orchestrate this elaborate plan that involves a whole ton of people so quickly?
Yeah.
Did he have... did he, like, have an idea where it's like... One day he thought to himself, if an earthquake ever happens in D.C.
Yeah.
It's just absurd. And, of course, as indicated by his appearance, his extremely bronzed face, and I guess in some way his stupid hair, he's clearly like just this kind of like Donald Trump stand-in. And they don't quite go all out with the mannerisms. They're kind of... It just like seems to be really based more on appearance and I guess a bit of his attitude, like his horrible, evil, devious plans, but that's just kind of about it. It's not really as topical or soapboxy as you think it is, or as you would fear.
Yeah, I'm so glad that the Asylum didn't try to do, like, actual serious social commentary.
I mean, if they're trying to, it was completely lost on me, especially because, again, one, this guy just seems like the lamest excuse for a martial law president I've ever seen, given like South Korea's one to run for his money, and also the Virginia Lookout seems to be like the lamest militia ever.
Yeah, so basically, if I haven't made this clear already, Eric Roberts is like in cahoots with the local militia, which is why he hired them to act as security on this earthquake or whatever. I don't know what his motive. I don't know what his excuse for using them was exactly, but it's like, hey, let's bring in these guys. Except actually, it was all part of the plan to. No, supposedly they were part of the plan to rescue the president, but actually, it was the plan to assassinate the president. Big shock.
Yeah, like anything about this film is surprising.
So.
And also how much they love to spin the face of science.
There are a couple other random things. I already mentioned because this is more a movie that's like, the thing about this is that it has a couple like really specific, I did not care about the plot of this movie at all. Like, this is, aside from maybe the twist, not a movie where you could describe it as like, oh, the plot is insane, like Devil Comes to Kansas City. But there are a few specific moments that I do consider to be like genuinely so bad they're good. And those are, I already mentioned a couple, but there's the fact that there's the very, very brief, eventually abandoned subplot of the two firefighters underneath the rubble and how they keep smiling.
Not to mention the innuendos.
Yeah, well, I was getting to that. So, there's a whole thing. Those scenes, I could not stop laughing at those for a myriad of reasons. First of all, how oddly sexual they seemed, because, like, the whole time there's a male one and a female one, and the way that they're trapped, it's like the female one is like laying like this, like trapped like this, and the guy is like behind her, crouched down like this. And the whole time she's making these faces, it's two things. First of all, she's not just smiling the whole time, she actively looks like she's trying to fight back laughter in like every scene she's in. And second of all, like the whole time she supposedly broke her leg, and somehow she knows like the exact ways in which it was fractured and like the exact bones that were fractured, despite not being able to look behind her. Like she just knows by feel. And she doesn't even act hurt. She's just like, oh, it feels like my tibia is broken, but it's only a partial fracture, so I think we're okay.
Yeah,
Adrenaline doesn't work like that.
if we were watching this out of context, we would think that this was footage for some sort of adult movie.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when the
This fits perfectly into a porno.
Yeah, like the girl is like stuck, like that's like apparently really a cliche premise.
yeah, the way they're
it's usually like a washing machine or something.
the way they're positioned.
Okay, now it makes sense.
The way they're positioned and the faces she makes are like she's the whole time whenever he's trying to help her with her broken leg, she goes like, oh, which of course, like, come to think of it, makes me realize that's probably why that actress could barely keep herself from laughing out loud. But
it just writes itself at this point.
They probably were joking about it when the cameras were turned off.
And speaking of oddly sexual things involving people trapped under rubble, the president and vice president are oddly homoerotic. Like, there's a whole thing where, first of all, the fact that, like, the president's a little bit butch and the vice president's a little bit femme. And the fact that, like, they spend the whole time holding each other in their arms and that sort of thing. Like, I know it's supposed to probably just be platonic, but it comes across not that. That, and also the fact that, like, the vice president dies randomly off screen, or not, yeah, I think her actual death occurs off screen. There's just, like, a part where we cut back to them after something else happens, and the president's just like, Rachel, no, you're dead, because that's her name. And then just lays a little cloth of some kind over her.
Or a jacket.
Yeah. And somehow, throughout all of this, the president never gets injured in any way whatsoever.
Noticeably, at least.
Yeah.
Like, it's the most notable, like, the fake cuts and blood smears. We don't even see that on the vice president's head, and she supposedly died from, like, a horrific concussion.
Yeah.
I blanked out on the part where she had the concussion. I just thought she had some sort of cardiac arrest.
We see her get hit on the head, and then later we see her dead, but we don't actually see her die. So it feels really like, oh, I guess that happened off screen then. Okay. That's weird. And the president is also, like, the least informed president. Like, she apparently hasn't been briefed on anything about this militia. She doesn't recognize the militia guy when he comes to rescue her. And is like, wait, who are you people? Like, you'd think her intelligence would let her know about a potentially dangerous local militia who has a strong anti-government sentiment, but okay, whatever. And there's also the fact that, like, when she asks that, the militia guy literally just straight up says, "We're here to kill you," which, like,
And they don't just kill her, you know?
Classic Bond film. Classic Bond villain.
You sly dog, you got me monologuing again. The whole time, all I can think is, okay, if this doesn't work, which it won't because it's an action movie, then you just confessed and you're going to prison. So...
And how do you know that your militia members won't sell you out for lesser sentences?
Yeah. And, fuck, I just lost my train of thought.
Rachel. Rachel. Rachel, is your head okay?
Is your wig okay? What else is there even? I guess, like, one thing I was kind of thinking about throughout this is comparing this to the movies it's ripping off. Like, yes, we make fun of it for how dumb the plot is and how hard to believe a lot of the elements are. But really, that's kind of true of, again, haven't seen Olympus Has Fallen, but that's definitely true of White House Down, if nothing else. Like, it's very much a dumb action movie, and there are just as many dumb little plot holes you could point out in that movie as in this one. The difference is that, at the very least, the most obvious thing being that movie has decent production value, but also, and better acting. But also, like, it's just structured better. Like, at least in that movie, we get some setup. Like, we meet our characters, and we get to know the president a little bit before the terrorists attack.
And they also kind of save the rug pulls for when the action gets going.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, like, just, like, like, it doesn't come off randomly. It actually kind of builds on itself and kind of has some kind of culmination. Whether or not you find it satisfying is up to you, but it's a bit more competent in that regard.
Yeah. And, like, this has no sense of pacing, really. Like, it's just something happens, then another thing happens, then another thing happens, then another thing happens. It's all just so rapid fire to the point where it almost, like, we were saying, we couldn't tell how much time goes by in this movie's universe. Like, it literally almost feels like real time. Like, all this happens in 80 minutes.
Yeah,
it also
feels
doesn't...
like it happens in a single day.
It also doesn't help when there's occasional amounts of stock footage where the time of day, or more specifically, the specific weather conditions don't match.
Yeah, like, this movie overuses stock footage even more than any of the others we've reviewed so far. But it's to the point where, like, the stock footage all very clearly comes from different sources, to the point where, like you said, Shane, many of them are at a different time of day, but also many of them very clearly look like they're shot on different cameras or are from different time periods.
You could almost turn the reuse of stock footage into a drinking game.
They also love to recycle tons of shots, and especially not just like the CG shots, but even a few of the live action shots too that they actually made themselves.
Yeah.
There's also, of course, a good amount of inconsistency regarding the shot quality. Not only when it comes to, like, being outside, it's excessively bright, but also there's, like, instances where some shots are extremely grainy because it's that dimly lit.
Yeah, especially the shots that take place underground. Many of them, it looks like they just cranked up the exposure without bothering to properly light anything. And as a result, like you said, it looks ridiculously grainy. There's also the fact, too, that the sets, whenever they're, again, supposed to be underground or buried beneath the rubble or whatever, all just look like variations on the cave set from Shark Side of the Moon. Oh, and let's not forget lubrication theory.
So it's a real theory, but if what I read is correct, they're just really just going... They're just basically using it as, like, a... They're probably just using it as a cover for the bullshit that happens later on to be, like, solving the problem.
Yeah. So there's... they find a way to stop the earthquake by setting off bombs in the sewer. Or...
Well, yeah, close to the subway.
Yeah, close to the subway, because, you know, that won't cause any collateral damage. And supposedly the water will lubricate the falling earth to the point where it'll stop or something. It's complete nonsense.
It doesn't even make any sense, because that water, like, are they not aware of the concept of weathering? I mean, look, yes, concrete is man-made, but it's still made up of material. There's only so much that thing can take before it starts kind of cracking and proceeding. I mean, there's a reason there is repair for concrete when it comes to, like, extreme weather damage. Also, I think, if I'm correct, a second earthquake happens as well. Is that even possible? look, we're not experts on this, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, like, literally, again, that goes back to my other point of, like, you can't tell. It literally feels like 2 earthquakes happen over the course of 80 minutes simply because you cannot tell how much time passes in this thing.
It's like they mentioned, like, somehow, like, oh, no, like, they don't even, like, say it in a line of dialogue, like, how much time supposedly passed between earthquakes, or what the time is now. They don't, or, like, a countdown timer, 24 style. No. Like, basically, it's just kind of up to, it's just up to us to just play around with it and just make guesses, especially if that's any fun.
So, I don't know. I guess I don't have anything else to say, really, so I guess if I can sum up, I guess, like, perhaps throughout this video it's been a little hard to glean what our overall thoughts are on how good, bad this movie is. Honestly, I think it's a little up in the air. There are moments that are so bad they're good. There are moments that are kind of just bad. I'd say, if anything, this is pretty good bad. Like, it's entertaining enough, but it's not a so bad it's good classic, or a potential so bad it's good classic on the level of some of the other stuff we've reviewed. It's just kind of like, yeah, that was a fun little stupid B movie, whatever, and then I'm just gonna forget about it right after I watched it. Except I'm not going to, because I'm gonna have to edit this video. But anyway, I don't know. What do y'all think? Y'all got any final thoughts?
This is not a good movie. It's an extremely forgettable disaster movie, and the effects are painfully bad. I honestly give this movie a 3 out of 10, and in terms of entertainment, I guess I'd give it a 5.
Okay, so you didn't find any so bad it's good value in it at all.
No, not really.
Okay.
This was real. This was one of the hardest movies on Tubi Trash that I've had to get through so far.
Okay, I was curious about whether or not, because I got a little bit of entertainment value out of it, but I was a little curious as to whether or not y'all did.
I got some decent laughs out of it. But one thing's for sure, putting in, like, lazy topical touches doesn't really cover up the fact that this is yet another, like, low-grade action thriller. I mean, seen them all, you've seen one, you've seen them all. At least, but yeah, I did get some ironic enjoyment out of it, especially when it comes to stock footage that has crappy stuff, that has, like, stock footage that has CGI over, like, laying over it, and somehow and people are not freaking out, or somehow there's a scene, like a driving scene, where people are freaking out and running away, even though the infrastructure is completely intact. There is at least some enjoyment, but it is not as wonderfully over the top or insane as other films. It's kind of, I guess, more in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a step down from Shark Side of the Moon.
All right, we got to give our scores eventually, because Darren just did, and by now his scores have been on screen for way too long, so that's gonna bother my OCD.
Sorry.
No, you're good, dude. I'd say, as an actual good movie for entertainment value, I'm gonna go 7.
Genuine score 2. Ironic score, believe I'll give it about a 6. Especially that especially there's one specific green screen shot that is hilariously awful.
Oh yeah, that part.
If I put it on screen, you'll probably know it.
Yeah, after the president made it out.
Yeah.
Madam President, we're ready now.
Thank you, Gracie. Citizens of the United States, we have overcome a monumental tragedy.
Alright, that's probably gonna do it for today. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, when we keep digging through the dumpster of Tubi Trash. Goodbye.
That landfill will keep piling up, and we'll be here to excavate.
Oops, nope. I meant to turn on the subtitles, and I did literally the exact opposite of that.
Subtitles are English, motherfucker. Do they speak it?
Oh, it's
Of
the
course, it's
Asylum.
another Asylum movie.
20th anniversary. Oh, they've been around that long? Well, longer now, but still.
Well, people keep giving them attention.
Of all openings, is that a production logo or is that actually the opening of the movie?
I honestly don't know which would be funnier.